Good afternoon. Welcome to this afternoon's edition of the Rich Urban Show. I'm your host, Rich Urban, coming to you from historic Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. We bring you news and views from the unification principle point of view. Today's episode is Dump Google. So today we are going to talk about that very topic, of course, and what are all the reasons to dump Google. And Google, of course, is ubiquitous. You have the Chrome browser, you have Google search, you have Android phones. So there's a lot of aspects. Oh, Gmail, don't forget about Gmail. So why would you want to dump Google? Well, there's a lot of good reasons to dump Google. And I'd like to start out with a clip from just a couple days ago by Al Gore. So let's look at that.
And so we put together a podcast with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and we discussed a lot of important social issues. But YouTube today yanked that podcast, and they said it was over medical misinformation. Reading their policy, it's very clear what they meant. We are not allowed to question the government's stance on any public health issue. We're not allowed to criticize the World Health Organization. We're not allowed to talk about alternative treatments like hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. And I found this incredibly offensive, insulting to the intelligence of all Americans. Give them the information and let them make a decision on their own. And that's the way America operates. We want more information, not less. We don't want any authorities telling us what we can think, what we can read, what we can hear or see. But that's what's happening in America. That happened today. And I'm asking everyone who's watching this to stand up and say, no more censorship. We want to know everything we can know, and we want to make decisions about what we're going to do about our health and our bodies without the government telling us what is right, what is wrong, what we can see or hear or read. This has to stop. If we're going to have a country, if we're going to have a democracy, if we're going to evolve as human beings, we can't have overlords telling us what is right and wrong. We need to find these things out on our own, and that's the only way to do it. And censorship is just standing in the way. It's almost a crime to tell us that you know better than we do and that we can't handle the truth. No, we can. It's just that you can't. So please, people, join us together in this fight. Stand up against censorship wherever you see it. Thank you very much.
Let's continue with this article on the Medium account of Blake Lemoine. He is a former Google employee talking about his experience at Google. And he's also known for talking about he thinks AI can become sentient, which is another issue. But we're not going to get into that right now. I'd like to deal with the issue of Google and religious beliefs. Quote, this is from his Medium. As soon as I started being more open and expressive about my Christian religious beliefs at Google several months ago, regular and persistent discrimination began almost immediately. Everything from VPs of research laughing in my face to HR representatives questioning my sanity based on my sincerely held religious beliefs in God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. True, I am a Christian mystic, which is a rarity among Christians, but there are plenty of Sufis and Kabbalists at Google, so mysticism within the Abrahamic religions should not be such a strange thing to encounter that people would literally question my sanity for holding such beliefs. The straw that broke the camel's back, as it were, came today when a random manager at Google with whom I had never spoken began harassing me about my beliefs. I do not believe he did so out of malice. I think he did it out of ignorance. But it is an incredibly common type of harassment that religious people have to endure every day at Google if they are crazy enough to actually admit that they believe in the divine power of God. So as you can see, Google doesn't respect religious faith. You might say, well, what's that have to do with anything? Well, it has to do with a lot of things. And like, for instance, the search information that you find on Google. What if you're looking for something that has to do with religious faith. Don't use Google, my friend. What about your email? What if the fact that if some religious group is sending you an email and they scan all your email, by the way, to show you ads, and then somehow that email always ends up in your spam folder? Oh, what a coincidence. Like my email. Inevitably, even though I have my email set properly and use, DKIM and email standards, it still goes in spam email no matter what. So the point being, why is that? Why would you allow some third party to decide what you can see and can't see, or as Al Gore said, what you can know and not know? And Google is notorious, and that's why I got off of YouTube in 2020. They said, oh no, you cannot talk about election integrity. And I thought, no, that's ridiculous. I'll talk about whatever I want. So I moved to Brighteon, Brightheon, and that's where you find my channel now. I left out my old videos, but I don't publish there anymore. So why are you allowing Google to decide what you're doing? And like 50% of people in the United States or something like that, a very high number, use Gmail. Why do you use Gmail? Use Proton Mail, some third-party service where you can get free email, or even if you pay a few dollars a month, you'll know that if someone sends you email like me or some religious organization or something that you're interested in, it won't end up in the trash can, or worse yet, never be delivered at all. So I'm a believer in getting off of those systems. So, you find out that different people, perhaps they have a show, like some controversy came over the Daily Wire because it came out that some of their talent had signed contracts with have how do you say, agreements about having their stuff on YouTube. And the agreements, some of them say things like, if you have too many strikes, like say you talk about beep, vaccine choice, or that the COVID jabs can kill you. Well, Google might give you a strike. And then if you have too many strikes, they might delist you. So apparently the Daily Wire decide if they delist one of their talents, in other words, the people that are their commentators, then they'll penalize that person, like deduct from their pay or commissions. So that's become a hot topic because other podcasters don't think that should happen. That shouldn't, happen to people. So my point is, well, some people, are demonetized on Google and they still use it. So I don't use Google. So you might say, well, you're losing out on audience. Well, maybe so. But I say, why don't people who are of conscience or believe in God and higher values, or just believe in the truth? You don't have to be religious. Why don't we have our own medias? Why don't you go to Brighteon? And there's a number of other video platforms. Why don't you have your own social media? For instance, I have a local instance of Friendica, which can connect to all the other so-called Fediverse social media, and I can post there. And if other people join there, then they can post, and we have our own community. It's uncensored. Why play on a warped, sick, evil, whatever you want to call it, satanic playing field where other people who don't believe in God, who don't believe in your values, will decide what you will see and not see. And in fact, they may or do think that you're mentally ill if you believe in God, like we were just reading in the blog about Greg LeMond about his blog. So definitely do get off of Google. And I'm going to do an experiment right now. Let's look up some different topics on Google and on another search engine that I like called Moji. They do their own web crawling. So I'm going to look up about 5 topics, and I'm not censoring the topics. I mean, yes, I've chosen the topics. You can do your own research, but whatever comes up, we're going to see on the screen. Let's have a look. Okay, let's start here with our experiment. COVID vaccine injury. This is on Google. All right. So we see National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. I'm not sure if that's an ad. I guess not. It doesn't say it's an ad. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Interesting. The first two results are two government programs. Senate.gov, those injured by COVID-19 vaccines still waiting for compensation. Videos, thousands line up for compensation. Program to pay for COVID vaccine injuries seeks $15 million. Top doc says she suffered COVID vaccine injury. Okay. Bloomberg Law, COVID vaccine injury payout. A lot of it about the vaccine payout. This is first page. We'll do the first page in the interest of time. COVID-19 vaccine claims yield small payouts. Still about payout. Stuck in limbo. Adverse events reporting system, VAERS. Okay. Neurological events report after COVID-19 vaccines. Vaccine injury compensation. So you get some information, but it seems limited. Now let's go to Mojik here. That's my default browser, and do the same search on COVID vaccine injury. Mojik. They have their own web browser. They don't use Google at all, like many other things do, like DuckDuckGo. It still uses Google as a base. All right, Mojik. Okay. COVID vaccine injury for side effects. MC Law, that's a private company. COVID vaccine data, Open VAERS. Private organization and post publicly available injury data. Australian National Review, COVID-19 deaths and injuries. Vaccine injury news. Vaccine injury news. That was totally missing from the Google first page results. Vaccine damage news. Missing from Google. COVID vaccine injury plans face long odds. Reuters. COVID vaccine injuries. COVIDVaxInjuries.com. Stories of those who've ever been injured by COVID vaccines. Missing from Google. Wonder why. COVID vaccine injury reports jumped by 27,000 in 1 week. Children's Health Defense. Missing from Google. Birth of a New Earth blog. COVID vaccine injuries and deaths part 2. Missing. CDC caught removing COVID vaccine injury reports from VAERS. Missing. Naturalnews.com. Interesting. A lot of stuff missing. Okay. Let's look up another topic. And some of these I haven't even looked up recently myself. I'm just doing it right now. January 6th Capitol protest. Let's see what comes up on that. And I'll copy that, so I'll do it on the Mojik. Let's see what happens on Google. January 6th Capitol protest. Oh, so you get Wikipedia, Capitol attack. Notice it's not a protest, it's an attack. Capitol riots on BBC. NPR, oh boy, there's a reliable source. Timeline, how January 6th attack Capitol unfolded. Again, it's an attack. Okay. U.S. Capitol riot. Capitol attack. 1 year since attack. Capitol riot. Capitol riot. These are people who died. Capitol violence images. Okay, all about how it's a riot, violence, and attack. Let's see what happens when we go on Mojik. All right, we'll put the exact same thing in. Okie dokie, here we go. Former Jewish press editor arrested for participation. That sounds a little different, doesn't it? A person actually telling about who's being arrested. On Google, you find is that it's a giant riot. Everybody's a riot. A bunch of criminals went down there. Rioters, criminals. Give, send, go. Legal defense for January 6th Capitol protest. That wasn't on Google. Over a dozen more arrests in connection to January 6th. Red line headlines. amgreatness.com. FBI confirms no firearms were found during January 6th Capitol protest. Interesting. That's not on Google. Shock. January 6th protesters have permit to enter the Capitol. Oops, that wasn't on Google either. Watch. Chris Christie excoriates Ron DeSantis comments on January 6th. Not sure what that's about. Former DEA agent charged with crimes pertaining January 6th. That wasn't on Google either. Capitol protest January 6th. Here's the evidence. Due to highly irregular decision made by government agencies surrounding January 6th Capitol protest, this is a crowdsourcing tool. In other words, they're trying to find the truth. That's missing from Google. January 6th Capitol riot was a strange stage-managed psyops. That's not on Google either. Number 97. Oh my gosh, I hadn't looked this up. This is crazy. Visionroot.org. That's our website. Number 97. Why is the truth about January 6th U.S. Capitol protest being obfuscated? Wow, I'm on page 1 of Mojik. Wow, I didn't even know that. So you see a vastly different thing. Okay, let's look at the next topic. Let's look at election fraud on Google. I think you're getting the point of why you should dump Google. Election fraud. Let's do it right now. Here we go. What comes up on Google? Heritage Foundation, voter fraud map, election fraud database. Okay, well, that's fair enough. FBI, election crimes. The myth of voter fraud. That's interesting. Election fraud. Latest news, top stories, analysis from Politico. There's an unbiased organization. Probably not. Looks like some ads for the New York Times and the Seattle Times, NPR, Milwaukee Journal. Doesn't sound like balanced organizations to me. You decide yourself. USA.gov, voter fraud, voter suppression. From the government again. Wikipedia. Okay, well, it's a common source, but I would take stuff on Wikipedia with a grain of salt too. Broward County, that's in Florida, voter fraud. PBS, another government-related organization. State GOP-backed election integrity units find few voter. In other words, they're trying to debunk that there is a voter fraud. Voter fraud, Nevada Secretary of State. Okay, that's what's on Google. Let's see what happens on Mojik when you put in election fraud. All right, let's do it. Voter fraud map, election fraud database. Same thing as the top result. Okay. Election fraud complaint, Division of Elections, Florida. Electoral fraud, Wikipedia. 2,000 mules, massive 2020 election fraud proof. That's right on top, but there's nowhere to be found on Google. That's a movie about massive ballot harvesting. A good movie if you haven't seen it. Groundless election fraud accusations might become, not sure what that's about. The election fraud beginner's guide. Didn't notice that on Google. Election fraud and stolen 2020 election. Nothing about stolen election on Google. I think about 65% of Americans think there was some kind of election irregularities, and a lot of Democrats and independents, not only Republicans. Election fraud task forces and the threat of voter intimidation. Okay. Election fraud conspiracies behind plot to shoot at New Mexico Democrats' homes. Okay. The Times called officials in every state. No evidence of voter. That's from the New York Times. Okay, so you get a little different viewpoint here. Things like 2,000 mules. It seems more balanced. Couple more. Okay, so say you're looking up something religious, like the founder of I'm a unificationist, and my religion is Sun Myung Moon. Let's have a look at that. Sun Myung Moon. Okay. All right, let's do that on Google and see what comes up. Wikipedia. Okay. The Strange Life of Reverend Sun Myung Moon. That doesn't sound too positive. Foreign policy. That's no doubt a hit job. Self-proclaimed Messiah. Doesn't sound too positive. Unification Church on Wikipedia. Actually, I've looked at that article. That's not too bad. Sun Myung Moon's death leaves conservative. That's about from U.S. News and World Report. Universal Peace Federation. That's one of the unificationist organizations. Britannica. Haven't read that. New York Times. The Guardian. Reverend Moon's lasting legacy in D.C. The Washington Times. So. Let's see what we get on Mojik. All right, we'll try here. Sun Myung Moon. Okay, again, I'm not censoring anything. You can do this yourself. Wikipedia. tparents.org. Well, that's actually a library of Reverend Moon's work. So that's a good source. Coming up, number 2. I'd say Mojik is fair and balanced. It also has a New York Times article. The New World Encyclopedia. That actually is a very balanced article by New World Encyclopedia, one of the projects founded by Reverend Moon. So that's pretty good. UVA Church, Apologetics Index. That's, I guess, an index of different religious groups. Cult leader Sun Myung Moon dies. Well, hey, look at this. I'm on the front page again. Not me personally. Vision Root. Reverend Sun Myung Moon Vision Root. That's really interesting, but this doesn't come up on Google. Whoops. That's really interesting because our site, it's not that big, or maybe it's bigger than we think. Maybe if Google didn't throttle Vision Root, it would be a really popular website. By the way, why even use Google if you want to know, again, what's going on? Don't use it. Sun Myung Moon, PID Radio. I don't know what that is. Cult Recovery 101. Okay. Reverend Sun Myung Moon, Small Screen Silver Surfer. I don't know what that is. But anyway, it looks like a quite more balanced viewpoint. You get things like from the organization, like if you want to know about something, whether it be Reverend Moon or Scientology or the United Methodist Church or whatever, wouldn't you like to hear from that organization, not from just NPR or I don't love Methodist.com or whatever organization? Wouldn't you like a balanced viewpoint? So you're getting a much more balanced view. You actually see several unificationist organizations here, and some things that are probably negative, but that's okay. This looks like a balanced viewpoint. This thing from Google does not. A lot of this is negative stuff. So I would suggest if you want to know anything about anything that matters, do not use Google. It might be okay if you're looking up something technical, but even for that, if you can get off of Google, like how to do some computer thing or something, get off of it. Let's do one more. Okay, actually, let's do 2 more. This is kind of fun. Let's look up Jesus on Google and see what we find out about Jesus. All right, Google, Jesus. All right, you got some picture references, images. People also ask. Top stories. CNA, Gospel Coalition, Sahara Report, I don't know what that is. Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica. Christianity.com, all about Jesus Christ. Church of Jesus Christ. World History Encyclopedia. Jesus Film Project. Jesus Film Project Christian Media Ministry. Okay, might be so-so. Let's check Mojik, Jesus. All right, let's see what comes up on Jesus, Wikipedia, Church Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Jesus Christ, all about his life and answers to you. That's a similar one. La Luz de Jesus Gallery. Not sure what that is. The Bad News and Good News, Answers in Genesis, from answersingenesis.org. JesusandMo.net. Not sure what that is. Home, Peace with God. Jesus Wiki Quote. Together we talk about Jesus and Faith, Jesus.net, a Christian media ministry, Jesus Film Project. Okay. Finally, let's look up Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on vaccine injury. Like he said, Al Gore was just saying that was censored by Google. Let's see what comes up. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on vaccine injury. Okay, let's see what Google says about that. How Robert F. Kennedy Jr. distorted vaccine science. Huh. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. soon to announce White House run. Okay. RFK Jr. is our brother and uncle. He's tragically wrong. Oh, okay. Huh. Doesn't seem like Google likes us talking about vaccine injury and Robert F. Kennedy. Huh. That wouldn't be biased, would it? YouTube removed RFK Jr. video for vaccine misinformation. Okay. Well, they're leaving that up for now, I guess. Robert Kennedy Jr. on Trump's proposed vaccine commission. Instagram lifts ban on anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Okay. Yeah, Instagram had deleted his account. Maybe, I guess they put it back. Wow, gee, thanks. Boy. What RFK Jr., now President Kennedy, has said about... I don't know what that says. RFK Jr. tears up over vaccine injury claims with Joe Rogan. Robert Kennedy Jr. is dead wrong about vaccines. Huh, it doesn't sound like a very positive viewpoint, does it? It seems like they're leaving something out. Let's see what... Okay, let's make sure we get the same term. Okay, we'll copy that. Let's go on Mojic. This will be the last one. I don't want to overly belabor this point. Robert Kennedy Jr. on vaccine injury Mojic. Okay. First, claim by Robert Kennedy Jr. that one vaccine injury occurs after 39 vaccinations is unsupported. Okay, well. Robert Kennedy Jr. Moderna's clinical trial results could not be much worse. That was missing from Google. Correction, claims Robert Kennedy Jr. warning against not sure what that is. All right, that's from Vaccine Wars. It sounds like they're bringing up issues of problems with vaccine and vaccine trials. Robert Kennedy Jr. breaks his silence for vaccine injury. Let's talk about vaccine injury. Kennedy talks about vaccine safety in this interview. It's quoting naturalnews.com, which, by the way, I don't think you'll hardly find anywhere, if anywhere at all. In fact, it might be completely banned on Google. Oops, and they have a lot of good articles that on Natural News with Mike Adams. Don't take COVID-19 vaccine. Oops, that's missing from Google. Correction. Fox News hacks suddenly pretending they didn't push COVID vaccines on viewers for 2 years. Medicaltyranny.com and dangerousmedicine.com. So these things are missing from Google. Of course, we could go more, but I don't want to take too much time. So I would say let's make a conclusion now. Okay, so finally, conclusion. Do dump Google. Also, I'd like to make or start a campaign. Maybe it's already there. But if not, anyway, let's emphasize it. Pound dump Google wherever you post stuff. First of all, dump Google, and then wherever you post stuff, talk about it. Encourage other people to dump Google. Don't use a search engine. Use Mojic.com is my favorite. They have their own crawler. It's much more balanced, and they also point to other search engines like StartPage that can, if you want some alternative. Get off of Google completely. Of course, there's Google Maps and Google Android, which tracks you constantly everywhere you go. You can turn off tracking, but there was a lawsuit, I believe, recently where they track you anyway. But you can try to do that. Myself, I'm going to get a Morena phone, so I get off of the whole Google system, or use their operating system, EOS, for Android, or not Android, but their own operating system, which is a branch of Android, but it's no Google stuff. So use a different search engine. That's one easy thing to do. Turn off tracking if you do have an Android phone or Apple phone for that matter. We already said don't use your search engine. Don't use your email. Don't use Gmail. Of course, I have my own server, so I have my own email. So I get all my email. But if you're using Gmail, you don't get all your email. First of all, stuff that you may want will go into the spam folder. And my experience is that 75 to 90% of the people never look in their spam folder. Oops. So if you want to get your email and decide yourself what you're getting, get off Gmail. Probably Yahoo and other services, not probably, definitely do the same. How about using Proton Mail? Use a free service or pay a couple dollars and get their service. It's certainly worth it. Do you want them filtering all the time and tracking you? Another thing you do is use ad blockers when you're using browsers so Google doesn't track you all the time. If you have a website, don't use Google Analytics. Use other analytics services because Google Analytics enables all these ad people to track you everywhere all the time. I do not use Google Analytics on my websites. So like on visionroot.org, we don't use it, and on the other websites either. So also, yeah, those are the main things. Also, I want to encourage you, yes, of course, get off YouTube. Use other services to post your videos. How about Brighteon.com? I like that one. I use it myself. And I'm already off Facebook. Get on other social media. There are many things like Gab or Twitter now is better that Musk took over, or those are a couple of the ones, or things like Frank's Speech, Michael Lindell's platform. If you want social media, and also, you could join something like a node of Friendica. Like we have our own node and community node here, and of Friendica. So you can join there, and you can find it at visionroot.org link. So yeah, get off Google. Let's not be party to this. Stop using YouTube. Use other services. There's plenty of other services to post your videos and find videos you like. We have to build our own playing field. God's people can't be playing on Satan's field. And some people even think the 666 is in the Google logo. You decide yourself. It looks like it to me because they mock God. 666 is supposed to be the mark of the beast, right, in the Bible. So they don't care about that. They openly mock it. They think they're God. So get off their services. So pound dump Google. Yay, goodbye Google. Get off it. So this has been Richard Urban on Dump Google. I hope you enjoyed this. Do like, share, and be blessed. And also, I do want to mention we have an upcoming Family and Community Strengthening Forum on July 22nd. Do go to visionroot.org to register for that. You can attend from anywhere in the world online or attend personally here at the Peace Kingdom Center, Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. The topic is stopping the sexualization of children in public schools and a positive alternative. So we look forward to see you on July 22nd as well. This is Richard Urban reporting to you from historic Harpers Ferry. We will see you next time.